podcast with Demi and Nancy. And we're gonna today we're going to discuss two just raising our boys, our black boys in this world of that we live in right now. And I actually wanted to kick it off with this question to ask Demetria. But the question is, I wanted to ask her how old how not how old is your son, but I want to just capture the moment that when the doctors had you had given birth to your baby. No, actually not that, but when you did the ultrasound and you found out the sex of the baby.
It's so ironic. So I wanted a boy. Once I found out that I was pregnant, I wanted a boy, and my husband wanted a girl. But
Mm.
and for my husband, boys run in his family.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember the day when we were actually going to the doctor. Um, I'm over here in my mind wishing for a boy, and my husband said, "I know it's going to be a boy." He said, "I know it's going to be a boy because boys run in my family." Everyone had boys except for one brother who had all girls.
Oh wow.
And so, my husband says, "I come from a family of boys." And he said, "I'm almost sure we're going to have a boy." And lo and behold, when I was there, um, in the doctor's office, laying on the table, and the doctor said, "You want to know what the sex is?" And I said, and part of me wanted to be a surprise,
Mm-hmm.
but I said, why not? And the doctor was like, "Well, you see that little thing right there?" He said, "That's a boy." It's a boy. My heart was set on having a boy. My
Mm-hmm.
heart, some people, first of all, a person is blessed to have children. That's number one.
Yeah.
And number two, some people you can actually see as a girl mom and a boy mom.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's, it's very hard to explain. And at that time, I just felt a connection. Um, I wanted him to be a boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. What
I
about you?
did too. I did
Yeah.
too. I did too. I think I was okay with not knowing the sex of the baby, and
Uh-huh.
then it got ruined. Um, because my husband would go to work at night and he would always kiss my stomach and say,
Mhm.
goodbye. He wanted a girl. Same like your husband. He wanted a
Mhm.
girl. He really, really wanted a girl. And he
Mhm.
would kiss my stomach and he named the baby Naomi. That was the baby's name. Good night. Goodbye, Naomi. I'll see you, Naomi. And we went in for the ultrasound and I had a really rough pregnancy. So he was traveling a lot and I think when he got to come in for the ultrasound and they had to reveal the sex of the baby, the tech was like, "Do you want to know?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to know. I'm fine."
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I was like, "But if he wants to know," but I told him, I said, "You have to be mature enough to get the news and not mess it up for me." And
Mhm.
he was like, "Okay, I'll get it. I'll get the news and I won't say anything." And it hit me that this dude always kisses my stomach every night and he says, "Bye,
Mhm.
Naomi."
My
And
husband did
when
too.
he went to work that night, he didn't say, "See you, Naomi."
Mm.
And I immediately knew. I said, "I knew you shouldn't have stayed in the room. Now you messed it all up." And
Oh.
he was like, "Oh man," he said, "No, it's a girl. It's still I said, "No, it's not, because
Uh-huh.
you know now."
Uh-huh.
So and but I was happy. I was like,
Yeah.
"Yes, I got
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I got my
Uh-huh.
boy."
Uh-huh.
But at the same token, like you said, it's a blessing.
Uh-huh.
It's just a blessing to even be able to carry the child and
Uh-huh.
get it here well
Mhm.
and you be okay afterwards as well. Then the postpartum and stuff kick in, but it's like it's just like, and then it's like, okay, you in the midst of all of the stuff, when I gave birth to Teo, and just seeing what was going on, uh I started to get really like nervous
Mhm.
about raising a black boy. And
Mhm.
you know, my husband actually got really nervous too,
Mhm. Mhm.
because he was just like, I think that's why he wanted the girl so much,
Mhm.
because he just didn't want his child to
Mhm.
possibly endure some of the things that he did.
Mhm.
And you know,
Mhm.
of course, you want to protect your
Yep.
kids from everything, you
Yes.
know. And
Yes.
it's like, now I got to explain this to him. Now I have to sit here and have these conversations. Now, you
Mhm.
know, it changes everything for him. You know, like a
Mhm.
girl, I think he was feeling like, you know, it'll be more on me to deal with her,
Right.
um, and to guide her through. But
Mhm.
I mean, thank God he's been very hands-on with Teo. He's just
Mhm.
really, really hands-on with him, and really, really involved. Like,
Mhm.
I appreciate his, like, how involved he is.
Mhm. Mhm.
And sometimes he's like, "Nan, are you gonna come to the games? Are you gonna check it
Mhm.
out?" And I'm like, "I
Mhm.
don't wanna, I'm tired. I wanna sleep a
Mhm.
little longer, you know."
Mhm.
But there was a time where I was going out very, very frequently to support him in his games, because
Mhm.
he needs to see that. He needs to
Right.
see his mom cares. I'm
Mhm.
rooting for him, you
Mhm.
know, and it's just a push. It's just a push to raise our brown boys, like,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
schools and
Mhm.
just everything with them.
Mhm. You know what's so interesting, because when you talk to moms or dads, everyone has like a different perspective and a different way. They raise their children,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so interesting. My husband is very overprotective
Mm-hmm.
about anyone that he loves. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's super. It's to the point where it's like a smothering type protective.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that. But when Dimitri was young, um, we didn't really think about those things, the societal things at that time. We just wanted him to just we didn't have those worries at that time. We just wanted him to just play, be free, and just be a kid.
Yeah.
We did not think about those things. But as he got
Yeah.
older, and you start to become aware, and then you have those questions and things like that, then things kind of change. It's like,
Yeah.
you have those conversations. uh the dinner time is very important. um so for us, the dynamics start to change when he started to get older, uh going to school, coming back. I think, when you're talking with your peers, those questions, those discussions. Um, so that's how it was for us, just trying to just be be there from a parental support, nurturing.
Mhm. Mhm.
But then
Mhm.
obviously when he became aware, it's like, okay. And for me, it's so interesting, because my husband would probably have a different discussion with my husband would probably have to sit down, be prepared, have everything figured out. For me, I'm more emotional, so
Mhm.
I would actually go with how I'm feeling at the time. But that might
Mhm.
not be the best approach, because it's like you're kind of leading with emotion as opposed
Yeah.
to taking a
Yeah.
step back, thinking it through. You understand?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think women are a little bit more emotional, and how they handle things, and their tact, might be a little bit different as far as like parenting. Um, but as far as sports, I was there. I was probably the one making the loudest noise. bringing. I mean, I was bringing the noise, bringing the pom pom, bringing everything.
All right.
I was like a momager to the point
Mhm.
where, when my son was in high school, we would cheer like his whole, because it wasn't just him; it was like his whole team. I just want them all to win in the crowd, making all the noise. And my son is like, "Oh my God, Ma, you're the only one that everybody hear."
Ooh,
But I love that. I would not change those moments for anything.
yeah. Yeah, it's like it's so I don't know, it's these are precious moments. It's like you
Hmm.
hold on to them. And
Hmm.
it's like I still have in my phone
Hmm.
Mateo crawled today.
Mm.
I would not delete that alarm off of my phone because I remember that just makes me smile every time I see it come up. I'm
Hmm.
like, Mateo, I know he's 13, but I'm like, ooh, that just makes me smile to see that he crawled today because that was just like a milestone moment for me. That was the milestone moment for me. I was like, this kid about to be walking, he gonna be like, bye.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. You're gonna say, "Close the door, Mom.
He's
Close
like,
the door
get
behind you,
out.
Mom."
Like that was the kickoff for me. I was like, what? No, he walking? Like he gonna be going to the bathroom soon by himself.
Yes.
That was the game changer moment. And it's still in my phone. I haven't deleted it, but it
Hmm.
just makes me smile anytime I see it. I'm like, why do you
Hmm.
still have this in your phone?
I have to tell you, when you mentioned that about the milestones, two things. If I can actually go back, um, in time when my son was, a toddler, I would like to go back just to take in the moment.
Mhm.
'Cause at that time, you're just going through the motion. Like, it's like the routine. You're getting up, you're getting the children ready. You're packing their bag, you're taking them to school, you're going to work.
Mhm. Mhm.
For me at that time, it was like everything was like going through the motion because you had a routine. You had to
Yeah.
make sure that the children were taken care of. You come
Yeah.
home,
Yeah.
you cook. You're getting ready for the next day. So if I could just step back and go back, I think I would probably change that, where I would just take in the moment more, stop and pause, spend more time, because when you mention a milestone, my son started going to daycare when he was 8 months.
Oh wow.
And a lot of his milestones happened at the daycare.
Oh wow.
They would actually call me and tell me, guess
Oh,
what? He walked today. Guess what? He has a tooth coming out. Guess what? He ate his first table food. So a lot of the milestones, I was informed by the daycare.
okay.
You
Well,
know,
it's great that they informed you though.
yeah, yeah. And they was just excited. They was like, Mommy, guess what? He poo-poo. He didn't need the diaper. They were amazing. I was fortunate to really uh have a good experience as far as the daycare.
Okay.
Um,
Good, good.
I mean, with the exception of one time where he had a accident, we had to rush to the hospital. I think I told you
Oh,
about that.
oh wow.
Yeah, so
Mm.
it's like that's another story altogether.
So I
Those
see you going. You went back there. You was like, wait a minute, he had that accident.
Yeah, right, right, right. Outside of that, which was just that was enough. That was a makeup for everything. But
Oh,
outside of that, his time at the daycare, it was is well worth it. But the time went by so fast. It's like, he's already in college. And I remember
mm.
yesterday when I had just birthed him. It's like
Isn't that something?
time goes
This,
by so quickly, and I'm telling you, my advice to any parent is to just cherish the moment. Take it,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. Yeah, cherish it. Cherish
Mhm.
every it really does move fast. And the
Mhm.
little teeth come through and
Mhm.
Next thing you know, and I remember I used to always have to carry him. And he had this thing where
Mhm.
he would just slap the hell out of you. Like
Mhm.
them little baby hands, some little strong little baby hands. And he would just slap and grab. And I was
Mhm.
just like, this baby got some strength. And I'm like, Mama tired of carrying you and you knocking the hell out of her. Like, that's why I guess I was so happy. He was a big baby. He was big.
Mhm. Mhm.
And just like when he hit that walking milestone, I was like, yes, I won't be carrying this kid like
Carrier,
this. Or
exactly.
he won't be grabbing my hair, taking my glasses and throwing them and
Mhm.
slapping me. And he was just having fun with mommy, but he was heavy handed.
Mhm. It's so funny because you know how they have like the cribs and then they have like a co-share where you put it up against the bed. So we had like those little co-shares where he would sleep at the foot of the bed. And I knew he was getting big when one day my husband and I we were sitting down watching TV in the living room. We put him to bed, and all of a sudden we hear some feet, and then he didn't open the bedroom door and he peeking around the corner with his bottle in
Um,
his mouth. You know that movie Little Man? It reminded me of like he's like he he got the bottle hanging from his mouth like I don't know. He looking
he's
around.
like,
He got his
yeah.
onesie. He got his onesie on, and it's so funny because he was growing so fast that we had cut the feet off the onesies. So he was looking like a little baby giant. The onesie was like it was too small, but his feet was hanging from him, and he had the bottle hanging from his mouth,
Oh
and
my goodness.
he peeking around the corner, and we're thinking about. I mean, my husband and I is like thinking to ourselves, like, we just put you to bed, like, and once we knew that he can actually climb out of it,
Mm,
that was it. It
that's
was
it.
over. That was
It's a
it.
wrap.
Yeah, it
It's a
was a
wrap.
wrap.
It's a wrap.
Mhm. Mhm.
He's on the go. He's on the
He's on
move.
the go.
He's
That's it.
on the go. He's on the move. Get with it.
Uh-huh. Right.
And that was the thing with me trying to keep up with him as well. I was just trying to keep up with Teo. I was just like, where is this baby going today? What are we
Hmm.
doing today?
Hmm.
And it was just the constant running, 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 running,
Right.
trying to
Yeah.
figure out what to do.
I have a question because you had mentioned earlier when you started postpartum. Did you ever suffer from that?
I sure did.
Ooh,
I didn't realize it. I had joined Mocha Moms. Have you heard of Mocha
oh,
Moms?
yes, because I was going to actually open a chapter. Yeah,
Yeah, because they have the
and I still get the notification from them till today.
different
Mm-hmm.
chapters and
Yep.
kind of like was my eye opener for everything. The women
Mm-hmm.
that the moms that at that time that would come in, we would sit down in a circle and we would, the kids would play and we would do
Mm-hmm.
Easter, Halloween, all the holidays and stuff, festive stuff together. But
Mm-hmm.
then we would really have some real conversations about what we were going through, what we're dealing with. And some women, you know, had like 2 and 3, 4 kids, so they bonded with some of the other women that would come in, but,
Mm-hmm.
it still was like a great, sisterhood of women coming together, and then these things would come up, these conversations, and, I was just like, "Oh, I never thought that I had postpartum,"
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
it didn't hit me until I think probably like 7 or 8 months
Mm-hmm.
after I had given birth,
Mm-hmm.
because then you realize like mommyhood has hit you. You got to do everything for this baby. You have to prep everything. You have to do diapers. You have to sleep. And meanwhile, all of that's going on with the baby. Yes, that's great, but your
Mm-hmm.
body is going through a lot of changes too.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you're not sleeping well, you're worried
Mm-hmm.
about the baby, you're worried about meeting the demand of the day.
Right.
Everyone for some reason at that time, even though I knew I mattered, for some reason I couldn't make time for myself, if
Mm.
that even makes sense. Like I was like,
Mhm.
oh my goodness, like I have
Mhm.
no time, and I figured I was one of those people that was pretty good with time management, but for some reason I
Mhm.
could not make time for me
Right.
and the things that I wanted and needed to do. So then
Mhm.
it was like, oh, I'm neglecting myself. And then it was like,
Mhm.
oh, well, the baby needs this. And then,
Mhm.
Mark needs this. And
Mhm.
I need, and then, I went to, I think it was, family thing. I think it started to hit me when I went to church one Sunday and I
Mhm.
had half of my makeup on one
Mhm.
side of my face. It was, let me tell you, I look crazy as
Oh my gosh.
and I just slid on in as, carrying this car seat. And
Mhm.
I slid in. I think it was, I don't usually sit in my typical area. I couldn't get on that
Mhm.
side that day. I just want to get into the house and
Mhm.
sit down and be present. And
Mhm.
I think I didn't, half of my makeup was on. The
Mm.
shoe, I was disheveled.
Mhm.
But the baby was great.
Right.
And I was sitting there like, dang, all I wanted to do was just put my lip gloss on.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do was finish doing my makeup.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I couldn't make the time. And that was like the first little thing with me. And then I went to one of the other sisters in the church who I we Grandma Nellie, God bless her. Actually, her funeral is next Friday, but she was very she was part of the parenting ministry in the church, and she would also try to talk to me a little bit, like, "How you doing? How's everything going?" And I'm like, "I'm here." And I remember saying it, "I'm here."
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that and then back to the Mocha moms, but then
Mhm.
that conversations would come up there, and I was like, I think I had postpartum for about 2 years. When I look back on it.
Wow. 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 So, are you able to explain, like, was there a sign? So the sign. So you're saying the sign of the postpartum was like the neglect part, right?
Yeah, it's just like
Mhm.
you're doing everything for the
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
And then there's this part which is very tricky with it because you always hear like women want to injure the
Yeah.
baby or they
Yeah.
want to hurt themselves.
Yeah.
And I remember one night I got up and
Mhm.
I would communicate to my husband that
Mhm.
he was on the road too much and he needed to be
Mhm.
here to help me with the kid
Yeah.
and he weren't here and he was just working. He
Yeah.
was like, "Okay, she's spinning."
Yeah.
She's spinning. And
Yeah.
then I remember one night I put him in his crib and he was he was going off. Like I couldn't and I was so tired. And I
Mhm.
just walked in the room and I just started crying and screaming
Mhm.
at him. He's a
Mhm.
baby, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I'm a horrible mother. Why would I scream
Mhm.
at a baby? He's my baby that I prayed
Mhm.
for and I
Yeah.
wanted. And
Yeah.
I'm screaming at him
Mhm.
and I think the next day I called one of my girlfriends and I was like,
Mhm.
I need a break. Can you keep
Yeah.
him for me?
Yeah.
And she was just like, yeah, yeah, I'll
Mhm.
be there. I'll get him.
Mhm.
And that was another component of it because I didn't really want him to be around. I wanted to do everything. I didn't really
Mhm.
want everyone to help me. I wanted
Mhm.
to take care of my kid.
Right. Right.
I had some mommy issues.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
I didn't want to ever come across like I was
Mhm.
abandoning my son,
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it was that whole thing too, where I was just like, no, I'm
Mhm.
gonna keep my kid. Like I'm fine. Like yeah, it's
Mhm.
rough right now. I'm sleepy.
Mhm.
I know I'm crazy, but he's mine.
Mhm.
But when it got to that point where I felt, oh my God, if I couldn't fathom hurting my child,
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
come get him.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
right now, I need the break. I
I
need the
need a
break.
break. Yeah,
I need a break.
that's right. It's so interesting because when my son was born, thank God I was able to stay home um at that time.
Hmm.
And my son, for some, I guess I don't, I guess all kids are like this. I'm not too sure. He would sleep. Newborns, they sleep all day, and at night is when they want to be up. And I recall my husband would come in and he would eat and he would go to bed because obviously he would get ready to go to work. And the baby would cry all night. It would be 2 a.m. in the morning, 3
Mm.
a.m. in the morning. And here I am in the living room, rocking and pacing and oh my God. I remember just the excessive crying. He wouldn't, go to sleep.
Was he collie?
He wasn't.
Colicky?
That's yeah, that's it. That's the interesting part because he had all the signs of like the colicky baby, but he wasn't colic. But what I would do is put some music on. I would put a pillow on my lap and I would just sit there and just rock and massage his back and just
Mm.
soothe him. And he would fall asleep. And I would be sitting on the sofa, you know, with my head back and him on my lap. I don't even know how I never dropped him, but he would still be on my lap. Now, when I think about it, I should have just bought one of those rockers now. You see how they got the rockers that you put them in the automatic swings?
Ah,
Maybe I should have got him a I think I did get him an automatic swing, but it was probably when he was much older.
my son didn't like none of that. He didn't
Yeah.
like no rockers. He didn't like no
Uh-huh.
swings.
Uh-huh.
And he only wanted to be. I could carry him,
Yeah.
hold him, put him in the what is that? The carrier.
Yeah.
That's it. He would just want to be on you. And
Yeah.
I would that's so funny. Like I would strap him up
Mhm.
and did you breastfeed? I breastfed him and then he
No, I
would
didn't. I couldn't. I couldn't get no milk.
we both would be out.
Mm.
And and it was just like, oh my goodness, like I can't do anything without this baby. Like
Mhm.
I felt and he was colicky. He was a
Uh-huh.
colicky baby. I remember
Uh-huh.
calling the doctor one night, like, please.
Oh my God.
My man was like, okay, it's okay. It's okay.
You know what's so funny is because I had waited. I knew it was time for me. I knew how do you say the maternal instinct? That's real. Because when I was in my 20s, I was not thinking about becoming a mommy. I was too
Mm-mm.
busy having fun, hanging out with the girls, doing a girls trip,
Mhm.
and then one day it just hit me. That maternal instinct hit me. And I didn't even have anyone at the time. You know,
Wow.
I was dating, but I didn't have anyone serious that I can say, okay, I'm gonna become a mom tomorrow. No. The maternal instinct kicked in and so at that time I knew I was ready to become a mom. If I would have had a baby when I wasn't ready, I think the outcome would have been a disaster because, you know, parenting requires a lot of patience.
Oh, a lot.
And let me tell you something. And when you are young, even and let me say something, patience is not just a young thing. If you don't have you because patience could be someone of a mature age, it doesn't even matter. If a person don't have patience, they don't have patience. And you need patience to deal with that parenting
Yeah,
at any age,
at
because
any
at
age.
any age, because you as a mom or dad will be challenged. You will be challenged on this journey of parenting. You will be challenged. So it's like
Yeah.
if your patience is short, like you said, you gotta make sure you have help around you, whether it's a neighbor who can actually step in and give you a day pass or something like that, or even in the evening. And I
Yeah.
don't know about you, is that when we moved, our family is in Brooklyn.
Mhm.
Our family is in Brooklyn. You know, we moved
Mhm.
here to New Jersey, and we were the only ones in here. I We didn't have
Mhm.
anyone to help us, and
Mhm.
it's like I think you begin to make relationships with other parents through your
Yeah.
kids. So, how
Yeah.
it's okay. Oh, that's so and so mom, and you try to build that relationship, but
Yeah.
that comes later. That came later for,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
during that infancy journey,
Yeah.
um, like the whole dating stuff. Me and my husband, you forget about dating. Yet when you got that baby there, forget about dating. If you don't have anyone, you can say, "Hey, we're going out to catch a movie." It's not happen. It's not happening.
I mean, you gotta trust the person with your kid, you know. I would just remember I had my son later, they were calling my pregnancy a geriatric pregnancy. I was like, stop saying that word. So
Listen,
Jerry who?
there are people having babies in their 50s.
Well, now it's like you're seeing that more, even more
Mm-hmm.
now, right? Some
Mm-hmm.
celebrities have been doing it, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's happening more. Women are taking better care of their bodies.
Yes, that's
They're
right.
and now you can take the eggs out and preserve them for a later date and time
Yes,
and
that's right.
have a beautiful pregnancy. But
Mm-hmm.
I just remember I was very, very happy to get pregnant, and I remember the doctor was like, geriatric. I don't feel that old. So,
That's
what are
too
you
funny.
talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Geriatric. Okay. But it was just having him at a later stage, like you said, like if I would have had in my 20s, I was like, I'm not baby. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even in my, you know, very early 30s, I was like, baby. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember people were like, yeah, you need to start thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
need to start thinking about that. And I was just like, okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Now
And
let me ask you a question. So, so we both are boy moms and we both have one child. Did you ever think about having any more children?
oh yeah. I was that person. I had my son so late though. And the doctor was just like, you gotta have the next one like
Right now.
tomorrow.
Yes.
And I was like, he don't go to bed at night. Like this kid is up all day, all night. Like he didn't start sleeping until he hit 2 years in. Okay. I was walking around with a big old cup of coffee
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
trying to figure out every little step of the day because he was like he didn't sleep.
Mm.
He didn't nap like you know he, kids would take a nap for 2 to 3 hours. No,
Yes.
he took a nap for 45 minutes.
Well, listen, that's good enough. What if you got that 45 minutes, that's good. You just
Well,
need to nap.
they would say, a power nap for us, but I'm like, the
Yes.
baby is growing. He needs
Yes.
longer, 45
Yes.
minutes,
Mhm.
and I had a dog at the time. I
Mhm.
had a dog and he would bark sometimes, someone coming at the door, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And it would wake him right up. And I'm like, you just went to sleep. You just, you know. So I wanted more, but I just could not. It was a lot for the one,
It
and
was a lot
the
for the one.
lack of sleep was
Mhm.
driving me crazy.
Mhm.
And it just I really, really wish now that, we're past all that. I'm like,
Mhm.
I feel kind of bad. It's just him.
Yeah, that's the way I feel.
I'm like, oh my goodness, if something happens to me and my husband, he's got to figure out how to take care of us.
Yes. You're so
He has
right.
to do it by himself.
Yes.
Ooh, and now I'm trying to teach him how to cook things, and
Yeah.
it's just not working out. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, why you have to take care of yourself? What you
Mhm.
like to eat? You got to feed yourself. So,
Mhm.
it's crazy, but I think the number in my mind, I wanted 5 kids.
No. I, he said no. I don't. He said right now. I just. He said I don't. I just can't do
It's
the diaper, the stroller. He said no. And
no.
I came to him again and I said, I really want to have another baby. And he says, listen, he said, if you get pregnant, I can't help you. You got to do it all yourself. And um,
Wow.
he said, because we already passed that baby stage. He said, I don't want to go backwards. He said, I want to move forward. We didn't get a chance to do anything, no honeymoon. He said, I want us to now, spend time together that we didn't get an opportunity. He said, and now you want to start all over again with the parenting thing. And it hurt me. And
Mhm.
ironically, one day he came out the blue and said, I was thinking about the conversation that you had, and I want to let you know that I apologize. I just felt my response was very selfish because if that's something that you wanted to do, I'm here to support you. At the time he
Mhm.
told me that, I done moved on. I wasn't even thinking about it.
It's out your head.
I
It's out. It's
it,
gone.
it was already out of my head.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, because I had, once he gave me that response before, I then moved on and accepted it. So once he came
Mhm.
back to me, I started to feel the same way he felt. Like, listen, there's so many things that we want to do with our life. Starting all over would not be ideal. But now as we get older, just like you mentioned, our child is the only child. They don't have any siblings and things like that. And that was my concern. However, I was speaking to someone at the job who also she only has one child and she has a boy.
Mhm.
And she also wanted another child. And she told me her husband said no too. And she said, Demetria, how can I convince my husband to I want to have another child? I said, well, that's a discussion between you and your husband.
Mhm.
But she
Mhm.
says that I think her child might be 9 years old, if I remember. But she said that her husband mentioned this, and my husband actually confirmed the same thing. Having more siblings don't really define or guarantee that your relationship is going to be essential. Like, we can have a whole bunch of siblings and doesn't mean that you're going to be closer to your siblings. Doesn't
Oh,
mean.
let me tell you, this came up when I was at the rehab center visiting my mom. One of her roommates,
Mm-hmm.
um, she mentioned, she's like, sometimes because we were talking about having more than one kids because she had met my son. And then I was like, did my sister say something to her? Because she said something about when you have the same thing you're saying, that because
Mm-hmm.
you have a lot of children, they don't always get along,
Right. Yes.
and then when you have that division and the parent
Mm-hmm.
gets sick,
Mm-hmm.
what happens?
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting there like,
Mm-hmm.
my sister said something.
Mhm,
That's what I'm saying,
mhm,
like she must have made a comment. And
mhm.
then, and I was just like, we'll just go with it because, you know, I know what my relationship is with my mom,
Yes.
and she knows what her relationship is with um our mother. So, you know, it's different. It's different
Mhm.
for us. And it's like you said, because you have multiple children, doesn't mean that they're gonna be close.
Right, it's not gonna be kumbaya, and it's so interesting because the gentleman was also saying that her husband was saying that he has siblings and he's closer to his friends than his siblings.
Mhm.
And my son, thank God, he has about 10 high school friends, and 5 of them are very close. They're like brothers.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
last year they all went to Puerto Rico, and they all to this very so 5 of them are very close. So even out of the 10, 5 of them he's really close with, and they
Mhm.
do everything together. They go
Yeah.
play, whether it's basketball, golf.
Mhm.
Just recently, during the Super Bowl, they drove to Pennsylvania. spent time together,
Mhm.
and these will be his quote unquote his brothers. And
Mhm. Mhm.
um, it's a beautiful thing because just the other day, he said, "Okay, mom, so and so is coming to pick me up." They drive up, they pull up to the house, and he goes out and he comes back. They have dinner together. They're on the video game, having a little chat together,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
and they talk about life experiences. They come to each
Mhm.
other for advice, and
Mhm.
and that's a beautiful thing. So although I was at one point worried about him having a sibling, long as he have close friends, that's important. That's
Mhm.
important. Plus, I also have uh, a couple of friends who, they're Dimitri's like their godson, and
Mhm.
although they're the same age, so they really can't do anything. But if we start to get old, still just having them nearby where he can actually
Yeah.
just say, "Hey, um, this is on my mind," and things like that. But
Right.
listen, I really plan on living until 100. So
Just 100? I was
yeah,
trying to go to 130, but
well, you
that's
got it.
okay.
So yes, yes. So because I figure, by 100, he should be good by then. Yeah.
Let me tell you, he gonna be mad as heck. I'm sitting around here at 100 years old. He gonna be like, this lady just need to go on. She's cramping my style.
Right, 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 right.
Just
So
need to
it's like,
go on.
oh my God. So
Oh.
this discussion has been so amazing, and obviously we can probably go on and on and on.
Mhm.
Uh, we definitely have to have a part two because we just talked about like the birth and beginning years. We didn't even really get into the growing
Okay,
up
they're
and other
here.
stuff.
Well, they're here now, and
Uh-huh,
in this world that we're living in, and they're
uh-huh,
living, and we're living, and
uh-huh,
it's crazy. It's real
uh-huh,
crazy right now, and it's just like you know, how do you protect them, right?
uh-huh,
What
uh-huh,
are things that we can do to ensure that they're safe
right,
as Black men, and how do you prepare them? You can prepare them so many ways. And,
mhm,
like I tell my husband, look, show him what to do if the cops pull him over. Talk to
mhm,
him about that, or
mhm,
have a training
yeah,
or something, because
mhm,
he knows how to react, in this
mhm,
situation, because
mhm,
it's, I've heard so many stories. You can be
yes,
in the most beautiful town
yeah,
and they can know your child,
yeah,
and law enforcement, if there's some corruption, which there
yes,
is,
yep,
that one angry officer
that's right.
or few officers,
Mhm,
they will
yep,
try it because
yep,
they can. In this environment that we are in right now,
mhm,
it's encouraging them.
mhm, mhm,
The word is coming to mind, emboldened. They are, it's what they're doing.
mhm,
And it makes no sense. It's the courage. They feel like they can do it. They feel like,
mhm,
I'm not doing anything wrong. As a matter of fact, this should have been done a long time ago."
mhm. It's the continuous conversation,
Mhm.
the sharing of information, that's
Mhm.
essential.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I don't want to get to a point because obviously as a parent, I have fears, but I want to make sure that my fears are not projected on him. So I want to make sure that the information I provide, it's informative. I don't want my because I used to like have all these fears and I would, talk through my fears. You understand?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's not what I want to do. I don't want to talk through my fears
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
my son. You know.
Mhm. Yeah, just
Huh?
yelling while I'm on the podcast.
I heard
Yeah,
I heard
I
something. I
so
said about so is there like a feedback in my mic here?
no, this is my life. I swear. I say I'm doing a
But but
podcast And you know,
It's so funny because
so
I text my son. I told him, I said, listen, I text him, I said, do not say anything, do not bother me. I'm on the podcast
the
because he
door,
has a hair appointment.
the door is closed. It's just the door is closed,
Yeah,
and
right.
they're like they know I'm in
you get
here.
you gotta get a sign, little sign that says recording in session. That's what you gotta get. You gotta get a recording in session.
No, I need a big sign that say the damn door is closed.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly. Exactly. Nancy, I truly appreciate this discussion.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I do too. I appreciate you. It's just like a really organic conversation about,
Yeah.
like, you know,
Life.
being life, our
Mhm.
kids, husbands, how to
Mhm.
navigate all of that. And
Mhm.
the concerns are legitimate, they're valid. We
That's
don't
right.
know, it's real.
Mhm.
It's real. It's real. The
Mhm.
overprotectiveness,
Mhm.
even I think a little bit micromanaging to some degree or another, just to
Mhm.
ensure that, all goes well.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Hmm.
But today is Sunday,
Hmm.
and the sun is not shining, but if it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day for reflection. Right now, I have the patio door open, and I can hear the birds just singing, and it's so
Hmm.
beautiful.
Oh
And
yeah.
and
Oh
I
yeah.
know, don't you have to jump on a Zoom right now, right?
I think I'm probably it's probably wrapping up, but yeah, in a few minutes I need to jump on.
Okay.
But I had already started doing some reading, devotional reading this morning.
Okay.
So maybe I can catch the last part of it, or I think we wrap up at 12. It depends on what's
Mhm.
going on, or
Mhm.
pretty much what's happening.
Mhm.
But it's between like 11:30 and 12, I think they wrap up.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's all good.
Mhm. So I look forward to our next session, and yeah, we Nancy, and enjoy your day.
Okay, you too, Demi.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.
This information contained in this podcast is based on personal experience. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult with your healthcare provider or a qualified professional for any questions you may have regarding your health or well-being.